Welcome back to another episode of the Mills Knows Bills podcast. I'm your host, as well as CEO of MKB, Mills Bender. And with me today, I have another good friend of mine, Dan Workman. He and I met through an organization that we're both part of called RBO, or Real Business Owners, where we get to just meet on a consistent basis. And I think you and I initially met maybe back in June. So by the time this airs, it will be almost a year since we first met, which will be really cool. And over that time frame, we've just really been able to mastermind amongst each other and the other members and get to know more about how different people are scaling and building their businesses. And I just love your approach to business, which is why I'm excited to have you on the podcast today. So without further ado, Dan, can you take a moment, introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Thanks, Mills. Yeah, super happy to be here and appreciate the invite. And it's been a fun year getting to know you and more about and everything about you and your business. And the RBO group has been phenomenal overall. I can just tell you that. But yeah, so I started my entrepreneur journey, I'd say, well, if I want to take it all the way back to the very first business I ever started, I was about 12 years old. And my dad told me, he's like, if you want to make money, because he wasn't paying me. If you want to make money, you could go out and wash windows or mow lawns or do this, that, the other. And I started contemplating all of these ideas of businesses that I wanted to do. I was like, oh, like mowing lawns, that'd be cool. Washing windows, that'd be pretty easy. And I started thinking of all of these different business ideas. Mind you, I'm like 12 years old. Had never done anything for money besides make my bed or maybe mow the lawn. So I started coming up with all these ideas, and the most exciting part of I landed on window washing. So I decided I'm going to start a business, Dan's Window Washing. And what's funny is that I got so excited about the idea of the business. I wasn't as excited about actually doing the work. And so I spent all of this time. I had my parents' computer, all right, in our little office. And I spent all of this time. I probably spent days in Microsoft Paint working on a logo for Dan's Window Washing. And so in Microsoft Paint, I created this little mascot with a smiley face and a squeegee and a brush and a sparkling smile. And it took me a couple of days, and I was so proud of it. And what's funny is that I hadn't really even thought about that until this moment when we're talking about.
Do you still have it by any chance?
Journey. I'll have to dig and find it, because what's super fun. So I spent all that time doing that. Not only did I do that, but I don't even remember where I got this, but I sent it off somewhere to get it printed on a t-shirt.
Stop it.
And got my t-shirt and went and started knocking doors to wash windows with my Dan's window cleaning t-shirt on. And I got to my first house that was willing to pay me to wash their windows. And I hadn't washed my own family's windows. I've never washed a window at all, ever. I just knew what kind of tools needed to be used and this, that, the other. And they agreed to pay me some amount to wash their windows. And luckily it was a 1-story house, because it had been a 2-story house, I have no idea what I would have done, but spent a good couple hours washing their windows. And that was the first and last house that I washed windows with. Because I decided I don't like this, actually. I don't remember what they paid me, but
it wasn't worth it, whatever it was.
The more excitement, I had more excitement designing a logo for my shirt than I did about actually doing the business, which is so funny, because fast forward 20 years later, I get involved into a vehicle wrap business. And through high school, a little bit of college, I had some graphic design experience that I'd always had a little bit of obviously a pull towards. And so when I started a vehicle wrap business, I kind of just fell into it. A friend of mine bought a vehicle wrap business. This was 13 years ago or so. And I was at that time, I was a banker at Wells Fargo, and he had bought this business, had no idea what he was going to be doing with it. And he's like, I don't really know what to do. I need some help. And I was like, all right, I'll come help you in the evenings and we'll figure it out. We'll figure out how to wrap cars and do the designs and print them stuff.
Wow.
And so we did. So we did that for about a year. After about a year, he's like, I don't think I like this, so I'm going to bow out. And he just kind of shut everything down. And shortly after, I really, this was actually right before I was going to be getting married also. So I had to sit down with my wife and we're like, all right, I could either go back, because at this time I'd actually left Wells Fargo because I was working kind of more part-time into some sweat equity kind of thing with this guy. And so we had to sit down with my wife and basically decide what are we doing here? Am I going to go back to the bank and get a job, get back there into the working world and work for somebody, or do I take the information and knowledge that I just learned about this business that I actually was pretty passionate about, and just start a new business? So we decided to go ahead and get going on starting the business, because there's very low risk for us. Like we weren't married. I did have a kid that I shared 50% custody with somebody, but luckily that 50% gives me a little bit of time to not have to worry about kids. So, some time to work on my business. So that was about 13 years ago that we got started originally. And then my business that I began, Identity Graphx, we officially started out of my parents' garage about 12 years ago. And it's been a wild, wild ride for sure.
That's awesome. Yeah. It sounds like you really had your beginnings though when you were 12 and you created your first logo and you even sent it off to get printed. And so when you came into your friend's business, the car wrap business, what made you decide to then open up your own car wrap business? Because when he closed that shop, you could have done something else. What was really that pull that said, I want to do this instead?
Well, it really came back to that same thought, even when I was a young kid, of like, I actually really enjoyed taking somebody's idea for their business, creating a logo, creating a design on a vehicle, and putting a vision together that they had. And then I'm taking my knowledge and experience with that graphic design and putting it into something tangible that they could use for, if they were doing a logo, they can use it for their website, for doing, the wrap design around their logo. They can use that additional, material for marketing, business cards. They can use that on their website, things like that. But I really was drawn to helping businesses have an impact, because the logo and especially with the vehicle wrap, it's a lot of times it's the first impression that people have of a business. So it was really rewarding to see things that we would create primarily obviously getting used on their vehicles, and a lot of service industry like HVAC, electrical, things like that. But anybody really that had any kind of vehicle that we were working with. It's really rewarding to create something that could help them grow their business. A logo might seem so simple, not that important, but it's the first impression that somebody has of your business. And it's been very rewarding to be able to create those kind of things, to have an impact on people growing their business, and see somebody start out from, they can barely afford a used 10-year-old van, and they're coming to us with their last dollar to get it wrapped. And then to see them come back, a couple years later and adding 2 more vehicles, and then the next year adding 3 vehicles, and seeing the progression of their business has been super rewarding. So didn't quite see that the first year, but that was the beginning of that, that idea of, and that reward of seeing those graphics go on their vehicles, and their eyes light up and seeing their business on this giant billboard that they can barely afford. And it was just really cool.
Well, it's cool because you get to see the tangible result of the effort that you get to put in. And then they get to see the tangible result of saying, well, I can afford more vehicles and I can afford to get them more wrapped. Like I can get more of them wrapped. And so there's very few parts of our business that we actually get to see something right in front of us as the result of our effort. And I think it's really cool that you get to be part of that. And you mentioned it earlier that it's a first impression for somebody to have their vehicle wrapped. It is a billboard. Do you have any stories of clients coming back to you and saying, man, I got this project or I got this bid opportunity simply because they saw me with my vehicle? Like, do you have any of those stories that they come back and share with you?
Gosh, can't think of a very specific one, but I can say that people frequently will come back for additional wraps and different and more or other services, or to change up a wrap or something. And the message that we get very frequently is just the number one thing is people say that we have grown so much by having a wrap on our vehicle, like across the board, especially service industry people, when they're going into neighborhoods to do work on somebody's heating and air system, and their van's parked right out front, and the van is, it just instantly builds trust in the community. So when people are talking about, or when they come to us to redo vehicle on a new vehicle, and they're talking about how we've helped them, the message is always, I love getting a phone call when people say they see my van. I love getting a text message when somebody says they saw my van, and saying, hey, I saw you driving down, because they start building relationships with people that they do service for. And so when they definitely find an impact on people reaching out to their business through the vehicle wraps, that is different from, Google ads, Facebook, Instagram. There definitely is a tangible measurement there.
I mean, it's doing marketing for them that they don't have to do themselves. It's passive. They're already driving to a client site. They're already driving to go home or to the office. Why not get an ROI on that drive alone, simply because you're in a vehicle that is promoting your services on your commute? And so you brought something up where it's marketing in a way that's not digital. It's not,
Yes.
I don't know about you, but I'm so overwhelmed with the amount of digital ads I get on a day-to-day basis. I was telling one of my friends this morning, like, I don't scroll on Instagram anymore. I'll post on my stories, but like I cannot physically handle the doom scrolling on Instagram, because every other one is just another sponsored post or an ad. And I feel like there's all this messaging coming at me, but I'm a lot more perceptive to things that are right in front of me. Even when I drive, I was driving to my partner's office a few weeks ago, and there was a truck I was driving behind that was fully wrapped, and it had their website wrapped all around it. And the first thing I thought of was, wow, if this truck was not wrapped, I'd have no idea that this business existed. And I wrote down that website, and I intend to reach out to that business owner to talk about a collaboration with them, simply because they were wrapped, and because I'm a lot more intentional at focusing in the present than I am on something virtual. And so with all of that said, somebody can look at the sticker price of a car wrap or truck wrap or van wrap, whatever it is, and they could say, wow, that's really expensive, depending on their budget, right? I don't know what you charge. I know what other people charge local to me, but in my opinion, I think there's a lot higher of an ROI, because it's a one-time deal. It's not a monthly recurring, and it lasts until you need to change it out. And so why would you, beyond just the ROI side of it, why would you encourage somebody to initially invest their marketing spend in a vehicle wrap outside of other marketing efforts?
Yeah. Good question. I mean, I could be biased because I'm in the industry and I do it, but there is data to back it up. And the data from 3M, who's a large vinyl manufacturer, that did a study with Traffic. Gosh, I'll have to find the exact company that did the study.
Sure.
But a typical vehicle wrap that's attractive, that's not boring, essentially, but a typical vehicle wrap can garner about 30,000 to 70,000 impressions a day for a service industry that's driving daily, that's driving in a heavy populated area, neighborhood. I mean, the number of people that see a vehicle wrap is extremely high. especially when they're driving through, if they're on the interstate, if they're driving to neighborhoods. The amount of eyeballs on a vehicle in a day is insane.
Yeah.
Typical cost per 1,000 impressions on a vehicle wrap, if you're looking at over the total cost of the vehicle wrap, is around 40 cents per impression, compared to billboards and print and radio, things like that. And the thing about vehicle wraps is they, like you said, they just stick with you a little bit more than, especially digital marketing. And there was a study done that said that most people, over 90% of people, could recall a brand from a vehicle wrap than any other medium that they had seen or heard about a business. And it's, I don't know what it is about the physical advertising that draws people's and sticks into their brain, that of recalling a brand. The study was basically done to see which brands could be recalled, and 90% of people could recall the brand when they saw it on a vehicle versus anything else.
I don't know. It's something like it's moving, right? So it's not like a billboard that's just stagnant and easy to ignore. It's moving alongside you. I've seen your work. It's absolutely beautiful. And so it's eye-catching in and of itself. You know, it brings somebody's attention to the vehicle, whether it's parked or elsewhere. It's also just great for brand recognition and cohesiveness.
Sure.
It's like a uniform, you know, and
it is.
You say brands that you can recognize. I instantly thought of probably 5 companies, big franchise companies here, that have fleets of vehicles that are wrapped. And I remember them because it's all consistent and I see it often. And I don't know, I'm just thinking from a financial perspective, and this is where I get a little excited. You know, if a vehicle wrap is like $5,000, right? And the average ticket price for the business owner and the services that they sell is $500, you only need 10 people. You only need 10
to cover
people.
the entire cost of the vehicle wrap.
Right.
And that was going to be my answer to your question of what would I tell somebody that, you know, why should I spend the money on a vehicle wrap? I mean, you're right. A vehicle wrap could cost up to $5,000. On average, ours are for typical vehicles, between 3 and 5.
I think that's reasonable.
Small vehicle, small car to, you know, the biggest Sprinter, long, extended length, high roof, you know, kind of thing. And the cost that's for a billboard that will last 5 years, driving around your entire target market. A billboard on the freeway will cost that much for 1 month.
Yeah.
And it won't have the same impact as your vehicle driving to the neighborhoods that you're doing service in.
You're right there with your targeted. That's crazy.
Not even a smidgen of the effect that your vehicle would have compared to for like a billboard. And the you know, like you said, you only need, you know, if your service average ticket is $500, and for the entire life of a vehicle wrap, you don't think you can get 10 customers out of that? Or double that. So let's say your expenses or whatever is 50%, and you need to get 20 people to buy your service. You don't think 20 people in 5 years is going to go with you because they saw your vehicle wrap? Obviously you can get customers other ways, but
certainly
I
doesn't
would be shocked
hurt
if a business didn't get 20 customers in their first year off of their vehicle wrap.
Especially looking at that statistics that you said, you know, 30 to 70,000 views a day. I mean, come on. It's at that point, if you're not closing at least 20 people, then you're just not great at sales. Like the people are coming your way, and now let's just close them. But
and it's that brand recognition where they see your brand, like you just said. You've seen vehicles. You can recall a handful that are in your area, and it's you know, it's not always who's the best in business. It's who's the best known.
Yep.
And if you're the best known, you don't even have to be the biggest. You could have one vehicle that stands out more than everybody else's vehicles. And if it gets noticed more and people recall that more, why wouldn't they call you for their electrical work?
Yeah.
Versus the guy who has, you know, a lightning bolt sticker on his door and you know what I mean? There's not to throw shade at
No.
anybody that has simple decals, but if you have a simple decal on your truck, like, or van, like, what are you doing? Like, you should have a vehicle wrap. There's no reason not to.
Just take it the next step, figure out how to get there. I mean, you're not wrong. My husband and I will go for walks in our neighborhood and we'll see. I think that's how we found our septic company that we use. Somebody else was getting something done on their septic. And we're like, oh, we should probably get that done soon. Took a picture of it.
Yeah.
And then we called them. And now every time I'm on the road, I see their truck. Every time.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. It's like, for sure. Cause now you're more familiar with them. You've used them. It's like when you go shopping for a vehicle and all of a sudden and then you decide on the vehicle you want and you buy it. And now all of a sudden that vehicle's on the road.
Yeah.
Like, you've never seen it before, but
never seen it before.
To buy it, now you see every single black Ford Expedition or whatever that anybody ever bought.
Yeah.
You start noticing it more. Yeah.
And then I think it's great because as you have that brand recognition, it's easier for your clients to then give you referrals too. I'm thinking of my friend who just had to have her whole septic replaced and she asked us who pumped ours. And I said, oh, so-and-so. And so, because it was instantly recalled, which I think is really cool. Anyway, so we're talking a lot about how it would make sense for a blue collar business like construction, home services, trades. It makes sense for them to get their vehicle wrapped. Is there any point that you feel like a different business would benefit from getting their vehicle wrapped? Maybe like a coaching company, content company, anything that's outside of the realm of what we discussed?
I don't see why not. I think the uses would be different. If you're a business coach or a coaching company that had a vehicle wrap, in my opinion, I think it'd be better for overall branding, for use in events and digital marketing. When you can use your vehicles in digital marketing with a well-crafted video. The vehicle wrap just immediately gives the feeling of, oh, they're legit, right?
Yeah.
Like, so if you might not be able to drive around neighborhoods of people looking for a business coach, but you can use that vehicle at events and in marketing, digital marketing, where people will see that, if you're at an event that is a business trade event or some kind of thing where people are all business owners, all doing something, and you have a vehicle wrap parked in your booth, even, you wrap your Tesla Cybertruck in your coaching business, people are going to be drawn to that versus any other booth that's in the whatever. And it might be the Cybertruck, it might be the whatever, but they're also coming and seeing your brand on your vehicle. So is driving around a neighborhood, going to get a business coach, a client? No, probably not. But
I like your idea of the events.
It is a little bit of brand recognition and definitely could be used in the right sense. Like, even if it was temporary, you're wrapping a very cool, attractive vehicle for a temporary event. I can definitely see people benefiting from that. It doesn't even have to be a long-term thing. It could be very event specific to have a wrap.
You can take off a wrap that easily?
Yeah, for sure.
I'm just thinking because
they'll come off.
If I go to a trade show with all of my targeted demographics, spending $5,000 on a wrap, if I have one client who signs up, that's all that I would need given my pricing. I'm thinking of other clients that we have that are in the white collar industry, but I don't want to wrap on my car 24/7. That's
right. Yeah. And there's versions of a wrap that could make it a little bit more affordable. You could wrap 3/4 of it, a half wrap, whatever. But definitely there's ways to make it more affordable, but, and even for a temporary basis, you can kind of, there's things you can do to kind of limit the price of it. But I think there's more to wraps than just, the typical service business. You can definitely find more creative uses for it. And I think mixing wraps and graphics, and really great branding with attractive things like a really nice car is a great way to attract certain people to your business, depending on what it is.
I think that's really interesting. I'd never thought of it that way. And I like how your mind kind of works itself in that manner. You're definitely a marketer. It's natural for you. You're going to say something. Oh, so you're in Salt Lake, which means you personally will wrap cars in that area, but you're also part of a wrap academy, right? That you've helped start. Can you tell us about that a little bit more?
Yeah. So after I'll kind of paint the picture a little bit. So after started my wrap company, Identity Graphx, 12 years ago or so. The first 6 years of that, it was just me in a garage, doing everything from design to print to install to delivery to sales, accounting, literally everything for 6 years. The only contact that I had in the shop, is in terms of not going crazy while I was working by myself all day, was I had a TV mounted on my wall that was playing the show Friends on repeat day after day after day, literally every day. So I was watching Friends all day long. I love that show. Anyways, fast forward, 6 years later, I hired my first employee. I'm like, okay, this is getting ridiculous. I'm going to pull my hair out and burn this thing to the ground, or I need to hire somebody to help me out because I am going nuts. There was a night that I was in my shop working all night long. I had to get this vehicle done. Customers picking up at 8:00. I had issues with my printer. Called my wife and said, I can't come home. I'm going to be here all night wrapping this thing. And she's not upset, but just like, so
bummed.
I'm at the shop. I'm wrapping this thing. It's 4 or 5 in the morning, and I start hallucinating that there's spiders crawling up the wall. And I'm like, okay, this is a problem. So then that was basically the week that I decided I need to bring on some help. Yeah. So for the next 4 years, I've been actually building a business rather than just having a job, because that's what I had. For 6 years, I had a glorified job, and I actually had a lot of jobs, and I was doing all of them. And it took me a long time to figure that out. 4 years after actually starting to hire employees, or I guess 5 years after hiring employees and kind of starting to grow the business, we reached the 7-figure mark, which was a milestone in itself in terms of revenue. And it's been really great. So I've taken this thing that used to be a 1,000 jobs that I was doing by myself to delegating out all of those jobs to certain people. We have a team of installers, we have a production team, outside sales, and office management. And currently I oversee just kind of the overall vision and direction of where we're going. And so with another member of the RBO group, Brent Knott and we basically combined forces to open up the Wrap Shop Academy, which the idea behind that is we just want to help people get past those first years and not struggle for 6 years of owning a job, which is not a business, and get them to realize that faster and help them along the path of building a business that's sustainable, that can provide for them, their family, that can provide jobs for people in their community, and just continue to grow overall. So Wrap Shop Academy was born out of that, collaboration between Brent and I. Brent also has a vehicle wrap company in Florida that's, thriving and doing well. So it's been really phenomenal. We actually also partnered with, we have one extra partner that we brought into the mix, who is just a legend in the world of vehicle wraps. Anybody who is in vehicle wraps knows the name John Duver, and John Duver is our partner in this business as well.
That's exciting.
So it's been a really cool thing. So we started the Wrap Shop Academy, and this year we had our first Wrap Shop boot camp that started in January. Wrap Shop Academy boot camp, and we have a handful of businesses in there that were it's kind of just that first step in taking some businesses and getting them past a certain point, and getting them to think about things a different way, challenge them to do certain things, and really put some strain on their business to make it grow.
I love that. I'm so excited for you guys. I remember when you were first telling me that it was happening, I was like, this is so needed, because my background is in a print shop and they don't think about owning a business. They think about owning a job.
Mm-hmm.
And I love both of your approach in wanting to kind of bridge that gap. I think that's excellent. And so if somebody is, let's just say a business owner is watching this and they are on the fence of getting a car wrap to market their business, what's a piece of advice that you would give them?
Best thing I could say to you is find out a way to make it work. Whether that's, if there's a wrap shop close to you has financing plans, work with them on that. See what kind of, see what ways you can do to get a vehicle wrap on your vehicle or vehicles, depending on how many you got. Find a way to do it financially, because it will give you an ROI. There's no vehicle wrap for, especially the service industry, that hasn't built or helped grow a business when done right. There's definitely vehicle wraps that can be done wrong, that are not attractive, that don't really get that kind of attention. I might be a little biased, but the wraps that we design are pretty eye catching.
They are. You're not biased. They're the best in the game. I'm not even just saying that. I see your stuff. I'm like, man, I want to be in Salt Lake. I might just drive to Salt Lake next time we have a meetup and let you wrap my vehicle. They're great.
Nails.
No,
Stop.
But
yeah, if they want to work with us, we can print and ship all over the country, and we have a network of installers that can handle the install. So as far as the branding and wrap design and all the printing, everything, we can handle that, and then also work with an installer locally to get that done for sure. So
I didn't know about that.
I would say if you're on the fence of a vehicle wrap, do it. Okay,
so if somebody wants to get their vehicle wrapped, or maybe somebody wants to start a wrap shop, or they currently own a wrap shop, you have a couple different ways that you can help, right? What's the best way for them to reach out to you?
Let's see. Best way to reach me currently, I'd probably say, they can definitely follow me on Instagram. And reach out there. I'm happy to send them my email.
Sure.
I'll give you my, give it on the podcast.
Whatever you want.
Message it out.
Yeah.
You can email me at my graphics company. It's just dan@identitygraphx.com. And graphics is GRAPHX, because we're fancy like that.
You are fancy like that, And that's also going to be in the show notes and the video description below. So if you're not great at spelling, or if it went a little too fast, just copy and paste that email. Reach out to Dan, whether you want a car wrap, either if you're in Salt Lake or not, because it sounds like he can help you regardless of where you're at, or if you would like to learn more about starting or expanding your wrap shop. Thank you, Dan, for taking time to talk with us today. I really enjoyed learning more about your story, and now I'm excited to get my car wrapped. I just got to figure out if my husband will let me.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. So thank you guys for joining us, and we'll see you on the next episode.